my amazing students. This is Mrs. A, and I love math. And today we're looking at Lesson 65 in your Saxon Orange book. We're talking about addition of radical expressions. And radical expressions are very easy to add. And all we have to do is remember that we can only add or subtract when we have like radical parts. So in this first example, we have a square root of 2, we have a square root of 2, and we have a square root of 2. Because they all have the same radical part, all we have to do is add the numerals in front, the coefficients to those radical terms, and we'll subtract that one because it's a minus. But that's all we have to do. So the reason why this works is if we were to factor out a square root of 2, then this divided by the square root of 2 would just be the 4. And this divided by the square root of 2 would just be the minus 5. And this divided by the square root of 2 would just be the plus 12. And then we would, 4 minus 5 is negative 1 plus 12 is 11. And we would get 11 times the square root of 2. And that's all there is to adding and subtracting with radicals. So on this one, the second example, we have a square root of 3 and a square root of 3, but this guy is the odd man out, isn't he? He's a square root of 5. He will not combine with these other two. So we will just take 4 minus 6 is a negative 2 square root of 3 plus, we just have to add this guy in there, plus the square root of 5. And that's all we can do with that one. Okay, we can't join those two together because they're not like radicals. Okay, so then we're going to come over here and look at this board, which has a couple more examples on it. We have a square root of 2. We have another square root of 2 way over there. We have a square root of 3 and a square root of 3 way over there. So we can only add the like radicals. So this one will go with this one. Negative 3 plus a negative 2 is going to be a negative 5 square root of 2. Then a square root of 3 and a square root of 3. 5 plus 8 is 13 times the square root of 3. And we can't do anything more to that one. Okay, here we've got a 3 and a 2 and a 5. Every single one of the radicals are different. Therefore, this is already in its simplified form. We can do nothing else to it. So now we're going to talk about weighted averages. So now we're talking about weighted averages. We're still in chapter 65. We're doing the B portion here. Now, it starts with Susan had 3 test grades. She started with a 60. That's a great, right? The next test she made a 71, and the last test she made a 91. If we averaged those grades together, she still has a pretty sad grade, right? 60 plus 71 plus 91, all divided by 3 gives you a 74. Not a great average. Nice for Susan that her teacher decided it wasn't a fair grade either. Because 1, isn't Susan's grade going up each time? And 2, this test had this test on it. And this test had the other 2. So they were cumulative tests. And so the teacher thought if she did 91 on the test that included those 2 on it, then she had learned the material and deserved a higher grade. So what the teacher decided to do was weight the test. She decided to count the first test, which was a 60. She decided to count that only one time in the grade. But then she decided the 71, since it included both those tests on it, would be twice what this one was. She would count it twice. And the last test that she made a 91 on, it was counted 4 times in the grade. So it was almost like a final exam, wasn't it? All right, so when you go about adding those, then the teacher did this the second time. She did 60 plus 71 plus 71 plus 91 plus 91 plus 91 plus 91, because that went in 4 times. And then she said, well, how many grades do I have? 1, 2, 3, 7 grades. So she divided the whole thing by 7, which was the sum of the number of the grades that she had in total. And when she did all of that and added up all of those numbers and divided by 7, then dear Susan got an 81.54. And an 81.54 is a B, and she was very happy to get a B instead of a 74, which was a lower C, right? So she was very happy that her teacher decided to weight the grades. Okay, so now we're going to come back with the formula for weighting grades. Okay, so here is the formula for weighted averages. The first weight in our old problem was 1, and she weighted the first score or the first sum as 60. So 60 was weighted 1 time. The second weight was 2. She weighted the second test twice, so that one was, I think, 71. The second one, yes, it was 71. The third test she weighted was so basically this is saying weight 1, score 1, or sum 1, plus weight 2, sum 2, plus weight 3, sum 3, all the way to weight n, sum n, or score n, depending on what you're looking at. Okay, so if we were going to do the one that we just finished, let me erase this, we have some room, we would say the 91 was her last test grade, and it was weighted 4 times. And then down here, 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 4 is 7, so we had 1 plus 4 plus 7, 1 plus 2 plus 7. Down there, it's late at night. I'm getting tired. 1 plus 2 plus 4, because 1, 2, 4. And that wound up being 7, and we divided by the 7. Okay? So now we're going to use this formula to do some more examples. Okay, so here we have a problem, and these are Jim's test scores, but they're weighted different weights. So the first test score was just weighted 1, the second one was weighted 2, the third one was weighted 4, the fourth one was weighted 6. Isn't he lucky? He scored 60 on the one that was only weighted 1 time. So we're going to take the weight. Remember, if we were going to do it the way we did it in the first example, we could just say 60 plus 70 plus 70, because there's 2 of those, plus 80 plus 80 plus 80 plus 80. But that's a lot of writing. So instead of doing that, we'll use the formula. And we're going to have 1 times 60 plus 2 times 70 plus 4 times 80 plus 6 times 90. And then we're going to divide it by the sum of these weights. So 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 4 is 7, plus 6 is 13. So we add these all up and put them on the bottom. Okay, so when we put this all out there, we've got 160 plus 2 70s, that's 140, plus 4 80s is 320, plus 6 90s, which is 540. Okay, well, I can do this in my head almost. The 540 and the 60 is 600. And these two added together would be 460. Okay, so this is 600, not 60. 600 plus 460. We add those together, we get 1060. And we divide that by the 13. And we get 81.54. 81.54. Okay, because they have the same problem in the book, and they did it just that way. So you get down here and you get 1060 divided by 13, and you get the answer. So he made a decent score, even though he got a 60 and 2 70s, because he had a lot more grades that were up there in the 80s and the 90s. So he lucked out on that one. And hopefully they went in sequence, because he got better and better and better as he went, didn't he? This problem doesn't end quite as nicely. This guy's not working as hard as he needs to be. He is in a graduate program. Of course, graduate programs are difficult. But he has 3 tests, and each one of them is 20%. His final paper is 40%. On his test, he made a 60 and a 70 and an 80. And then on his paper, he made a 60. So let's see what he makes overall. So we're going to take the first test, and we're going to multiply it by the weight. Now, 20% is just 0.2. And then we're going to take the 70, and we're going to multiply it by its weight, which is 0.2. We're going to take the 80 and multiply it by its weight, which is 0.2. And then we're going to take the 60 and multiply it by its weight, which is 0.4, because that was the paper. Now, once we add up all of that, we're going to divide by, now we have to add all the weights together. 0.2 plus 0.2 is 0.4, plus another 0.2 is 0.6, plus a 0.4 is 1.0. So we just have 1 on the bottom. So we don't divide by anything because all of the weights added up together equals 1. So now we go through and find out what he made on that paper. But this is the work. Okay, so then we just have to plug and chug on the answer there. And it turns out that when you do all of that, he made a 66%. He didn't pass that class, did he? Or he made it a D. That's not very good. All right, so basically this one, remember, 60 times 2 would be 120, but since it's a 0.2, it would be 12. So he has 12 points here, and he has 14 points there. And then he has 1.6 points, hold on, 16 points there. 80, that was an 80, not an 8. 80, so that's 16 points there. So 16 plus 14 is 30, plus 12 is 42. So he has 42 from the test, and then that's 24 points there. And then he adds them all up. He's got 66% in the class, and that is not good at all. Hopefully you understand why we got a 1 in the denominator. Because when I add up 0.2 plus 0.2 plus 0.2 plus 0.4, I get 1. These are your practice problems already. So here we have a square root of 3, a square root of 3, but a square root of 2 in the middle. The odd man out does not get to add to the other ones. But 3 square root of 3 and 5 square root of 3 gives me 8 square root of 3 minus 2 square root of 2. That's my answer. Okay, so here we got square root of 7, square root of 7, square root of 7. Since they're all square root of 7s, they were all add together. And we'll get 12 plus 6 is 18. Take away 20 is negative 2. And then we just multiply in the square root of 7. Hopefully you're pausing your video in between. Square root of 2, square root of 2, square root of 2, square root of 3. So this guy we're going to have to leave out and just tack him on. Now this one is just square root of 2, but isn't that 1 square root of 2? We've got to remember that there is a coefficient there. When we don't see anything, it's not a 0, it's a 1. So 1 plus 3 is 4. Take away 4 is 0. 0 times square root of 2 is still 0. So our answer is 6 square root of 3. We have one more problem left. Here is our last problem on lesson 65. We'll be done. And we're doing a weighted average. And we have a 70 on a test, an 80 on a test, and a 100 on a test. This one is a weight of 1, this one is a weight of 5, and this one is a weight of 7. So we know that we're going to say 1 times 70 plus 5 times 80 plus 7 times 100 all over 1 plus 5 plus 7. The sum of the weights goes on the bottom. Okay, so now that's going to be a 70 plus a 400 plus a 700 all over 13. Okay, so 400 plus 700 is 1170 divided by 13. Okay, so let's see what that equals. Okay, so that's going to be in here, let's say maybe 7, 8. Let's try 8. 8 times 3 is 24. 8, 9, 10. Ah, it goes one more time, doesn't it? It goes exactly 9 times. 9 times 3 is 27. 9, 10, 11. And then 90. So 90 average, because I already divided by the 13. And there is your work. And we are done with lesson 65. And this is Mrs. A, and may God bless your day.